FNAF is by far one of the biggest video game franchises of all time, and when I heard it was getting a film adaptation, to say I was excited would be an understatement. I watched this movie yesterday, and it was phenomenal. And that's not even me being biased, because I grew up with this franchise. I have never had this much fun in a movie theater in my life. I went with my brother, and we were freaking fangirling the whole time. This movie was fun as hell. The critics haven't been that nice to it. Critics suck. This movie was good. It had problems, which I'll talk about in a bit, but the Easter eggs and cameos and the actual story and stuff were really good. I'm going to talk about the opening to this movie. This opening is probably the most tense parts of this entire movie, even though you know what's going to happen to the guy in the opening, the security guard in this instance. This man was running away the whole time, and he still gets killed. It was tense as hell. And that was probably one of the coolest openings to a movie I've seen in a while. And then the 8-bit minigame thing that they have that explains the story and, all that stuff, that was really cool. That was 100% Scott that did that, and that was easily one of the best parts of the movie. The story, it was basically Mike just trying to get a job and pay for child support or whatever, and yeah, the story was a bit basic. It was a bit basic, but it was also wholesome in some parts. But I feel like the story was pretty good. Um, the characters in the movie, the acting was very good, to say the least. Mike's actor, he blew it out of the park. We're gonna talk about Steve Raglan in a bit, played by Matthew Lillard. But yeah, the actors were really good in the movie. The characters were pretty much how they were in the games, with some added, characters that are just there to get killed off. Their motivations, I'll talk about those actually. I'll talk about the villains and stuff. This movie, like I said before, had a lot of wholesome stuff in it. There was a whole scene. This is gonna dive into spoilers. I probably should have said that at the beginning. This is huge spoilers. There was a whole scene where Mike meets the freaking animatronics, and they're just building like this giant pillow fort in the middle of the freaking pizzeria. That scene was funny as hell. It was wholesome, and I never thought I needed to see that, but here I am. It was easily one of the funniest parts of the whole movie. Um, speaking of the freaking animatronics in this movie, they're freaking robots, and they have more personality than most of the kids in my school. It is crazy the amount of personality they gave to these things. I watched Dawko's video, and they were already they had personality through the roof. But actually seeing them in the movie, it was so weird. But it was good. I enjoyed it a lot. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to bring that up a bit. It's not really horror, that whole part, but it was still wholesome as hell. I really liked it. Um, we're gonna talk about cameos. Uh, Another spoiler. I'm just gonna have a big freaking bold letters saying spoiler at the beginning of the video. But the cameos in this movie, there were a few. There were a few cameos, but they all didn't feel out of place. Corey, he was in the trailer. I knew he was gonna be there, and he did a good job being the taxi driver. Um, Matt, I was blown away that he was in it. I was shocked when I heard that's just a theory. I'm sorry if that's cringe, but it was so cool. Seeing people that I've watched for years on the screen for the first time is absolutely crazy. And to think none of this would have happened had Scott never made this game. It's crazy. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed with the whole Markiplier thing, that he couldn't make it to the movie set. I was convinced he was just BSing just so that he could surprise everyone, but he wasn't. And I'm actually fine with that, cuz if he's I heard he's going to be in the second one, and if anyone knows anything about the second FNAF game, there is a certain incident called the Bite of 87 that is kind of a huge meme for Markiplier. So hearing him say that would be pretty good. So I'm kind of glad he wasn't in the first one and he's going to be in the second. But yeah, I was also hoping for a Scott cameo, almost like a Stan Lee kind of thing. But I'm kind of glad because putting yourself in the movie is kind of weird, especially if it's trying to be professional. It still would have been cool though, because Scott is a awesome guy, and it would have been cool just to see him and see how he was after what almost 3 years of him being canceled, which I still think is BS, but we don't talk about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the cameos. We got to talk about Springtrap. Holy shit. He is goated. As soon as I heard Vanessa talk about him, I was shitting myself. And then when I hear the freaking T Rex footsteps from behind the damn wall, I was like, oh no. Oh no. He's coming. And as soon as he turned the freaking corner and he was like hunched over, I was shitting bricks. Matthew Lillard absolutely killed it as Springtrap, as William in this movie. And also, yeah, plot twist, Steve Raglan was actually William Afton. Who would have guessed? But he absolutely killed it. The voice of Springtrap was exactly how I would have imagined him to sound. It was insane. Uh, there was a whole part where he freaking tackled Mike. Like, he just freaking, like, shoved him across the whole damn room and knocked him out. That was sick. And then, he obviously did the ghost face knife wipe, which I caught onto in the actual trailer. I thought that was a cool nod. But when when he took off the mask, that just hit different. Because one, Matthew Lillard is so expressive, and you could see how insane he looks, and it just I got like chills. He blew it out of the park. I'm gonna say William was easily the best part of that movie. But yeah, and then the actual Springlock scene, it could have been a lot worse. I wish it was a lot worse because it was described a lot worse in the actual games, but they had to cut it down for being PG-13, which I'm fine with, but it still would have been cool. And in reality, it was still awesome. I still really like that scene. All the lights being beamed on him, they're all surrounding him, all pissed off, and he's just like cursing at them. And then Chica throws the freaking cupcake at him and just rips off the part of the suit and just triggers the whole thing. That was sick. Okay? And I honestly though, while I really did enjoy that scene though, there were a few problems with it. Because there was a part where his final words were, I always come back. And it's not that the actual line is cringy. I knew he was going to say it. But it's just the delivery. It would have been much better if he said it when he was getting dragged to like the back room or something. When he's getting like his whole freaking body ripped apart, he's like, I always come back. That was still cool though. That was a huge nod to the fans, and when he put the Springtrap head on again, that was also pretty cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it for all the good stuff. I want to talk about my complaints with the movie. Every movie has its problems, and this movie was no different. There were many things I would have changed, like I was just talking about the Springtrap thing. I would have changed it so that he said it later on instead of just like right in front of everyone as he's getting like ripped apart from the inside. Like, I would have liked it better if he just said it under his breath in the spare room. That would have been much cooler. And I would have also liked it if the actual animatronics got destroyed, because in FNAF 3, when Springtrap gets killed, he destroys all of them, and then the souls come out and they're terrorizing him. That would have been much cooler, and it would have been more lore accurate. And the reason why I have a problem with that is because of the ending. Because in FNAF 3, when he dies, you have the assumption that they moved on, but them still being present and Freddy closing the door shows that they didn't move on, which means that they can still they're not freed, which I'm kind of upset about because the happiest day in FNAF 3 kind of ruins it. But this is a new timeline, so I don't know what I expect. Um, I would have liked for the movie to have been a lot longer. When it got to the, I don't remember what, but towards the end, it started feeling a bit more rushed, especially with Springtrap's introduction. I felt like it could have used a bit more time, but it was still cool. And the movie isn't actually scary. That's another thing. But I don't really care because I want to sleep at night, not, think about freaking ghost children and stuff. So I'm kind of glad that it wasn't like a huge horror movie like It or something, but it's still lacking in terms of horror. FNAF is supposed to be scary, and the scariest part of the movie was the damn balloon boy thing that would just randomly show up on the screen, which I felt was kind of a cheap jump scare, but it did work. And if it wasn't for that, I think the movie would have been a lot less scary. But it was still good. This movie had potential, and it used a lot of it. And yeah, the I was gonna talk about the villains. I completely forgot. Damn it! All right, the villains in this movie, if you can even call them villains, they're just scumbags. Were pretty decent. They had good motivations. That Mike's aunt, I don't remember what her name is. I'm gonna call her Aunt Cass. Big Hero 6. I don't know. She was, I hated her, which she was intended to be hated. She's literally listed as female villain in the freaking IMDb. She had good motivations, I'd say. I mean, I don't really understand why she was trying to terrorize him, but it's fine. She hired those morons to go in and destroy the place in the hopes of getting him fired, and then he loses custody. They weren't cool, but their deaths were. The guy, he gets his the guy in the kitchen gets his face ripped off. The guy Hank, I love the part where he was just running around the whole damn location screaming bloody murder because he saw Chica looking at him and stuff. And then he goes into the closet. That was cool. Um, Foxy, the guy who died to Foxy, that was also pretty cool. As soon as I heard the dum 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 song, I lost my mind. It was cool. And then the the babysitter who was watching after Mike's son, her death was sick. Like, literally sick. She it was in the trailer. She gets like grabbed by the Freddy spirit, but It's the aftermath. Like, it's not just she just gets grabbed and then that's it. Like, you freaking see a shadow of her getting pulled into his jaw and getting like half her freaking body ripped in half. That shit was wild. And I ended up saying, "Was that the bite of '87?" in the theater. It was crazy. Um, and then the other villain, she got killed by Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy didn't really have a role in this movie, and I'm really upset about that because Golden Freddy is one of the most lore-heavy animatronics in the whole franchise, and he was really in two scenes in the whole movie. Just the part where he kills Mike's aunt and lures whatever Abby to the pizzeria, and then that's it. That was all Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy is in every single game, has the most lore out of every single animatronic in there, and was only in there for two scenes. It had a lot more potential. I remember people came up with theories online that it could have been Mike's brother, because the whole Mike's whole motivation for trying to keep his sister is because he lost his brother and stuff. It would have been cool if his brother was actually Golden Freddy, but it's whatever. I still like the design for Golden Freddy, but I would have liked it better if they did more with it. But yeah, the villains were good. I'm glad she got killed because she was annoying, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, but yeah, this movie overall met my expectations. I know the critics have been harsh on it, but it was a good movie. I was I ended up crying when the movie started because of how excited I was for this thing. And this movie didn't need to be anything crazy, and it didn't. It didn't do that. It's that movie was all it needed to be. It didn't need to be anything else, you know. And I really enjoyed that movie. Same with my brother. We were both having a blast in the theater. But yeah, I'd give this movie an 8 out of 10 in all honesty. And that's not even me just being biased. I really enjoyed this movie. I liked it a lot more than Spider-Man No Way Home. And that was my favorite movie for like the past year. So, it really had a lot to you know, impact if it made me put it at my number one spot for favorite movie of all time. But yeah, if you guys haven't watched it yet, I'm sorry for spoiling it. I'm gonna put a disclaimer at the beginning anyway. So if you didn't watch it and you watched this, that's on you. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this. And yeah, that's about it. See ya.